So I'm going to get Mr. Sun cushion. Use any cushion, put it between your inner thighs. That's something to squeeze between your inner thighs. Roll your shoulders. Wave at your baby, wiggly fingers. And we're going to bring our hands into the center of the chest and then make a big sunshiny circle. So arms up, fingers touch, and then back down. And I'd like for us to do this movement 5 or 6 times, inhaling, taking the arms up, and exhaling, bringing the arms down. Just let this movement be for you for a moment. Stretching up with your inhale, floating your arms down with your exhale. Warming up your shoulders, stretching them out if you've been holding and feeding your baby. Pushing your buggies and rolling the shoulders. And then we'll do a couple of those movements more for the baby. So if you want to take your arms out to the side, inhale, wiggly fingers, and then exhale with a silly noise. Give the babies a little tickle. And we'll do that again. So inhale, stretch the arms up, maybe a little clap to get their attention. Exhale, arms down. One more time for the baby. And then roll your shoulders. Bring your hands to the center of the chest and we're going to sing Mr. Sun. Mr. Sun, Sun, go to Mr. Sun, shine your light on me. Mr. Sun, Sun, go to Mr. Sun, hiding behind a tree. Boom! All these babies want to ask of you to please come out so they can play with you. Mr. Sun, Sun, go to Mr. Sun, shine your light on me. Everybody clap, and you can also help your baby to have a little clap. I'd like to sing that song again because I know that when we do this class live sometimes it's nice that the babies just get into the flow of it and then it's all finished, so we do it again. So for ourselves, we're thinking about squeezing the cushion to keep the inner thighs a little bit more engaged and so the buttocks can relax a bit more, give your bum a little bit of a wiggle. We're looking for a nice, strong, supportive lower body position so the upper body can be much more loose and soft. Mr. Sun, Sun, go to Mr. Sun, shine your light on me. Mr. Sun, Sun, go to Mr. Sun, hiding behind a tree. Boo! All these babies want to ask of you to please come out so they can play with you. Mr. Sun, Sun, go to Mr. Sun, shine your light on me. Yay. Okay, so a little exercise. It's like Mr. Sun, this Mr. Sun movement, but we're going to make a twist. And the cushion or something between your thighs is really going to help with this because we're going to keep the pelvis facing forwards, hands at the breastbone, and you're just turning your chest. So, and don't be over ambitious, okay? Because the idea is you keep your hips facing forwards and just turn your chest a little bit to one side. Then inhale, arms up, exhale, arms down. Then come back to the center. One for the baby. Inhale, arms up. And a little tickle. Hands back to the center. Now twist the other way. So hips forward, just a little rotation for the top portion of the chest. And this one's for you. So nice deep breath. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms down. Back to the center, one for the baby. And a little tickle. Hands to the center and turn to the other side again. First side, one for you. Just nice, smooth breath. I'm hitting the wall, which is a little bit unsatisfactory. Back to the middle, one for the baby. Turn to the other side, one for you. And back to the middle, and one for the baby. Whatever silly noise you can make, and you can finish with a little bit of a massage. Okay, take the cushion out from between your knees, and we're going to do an all fours sequence. So you'll be on hands and knees, baby underneath you if they are stationary babies. If they are mobile babies, then they can crawl underneath you. They might want to crawl on top of you and sit on your back. We're going to get a little bit creative with how we do this. And the best thing to be able to enjoy the yoga class with your baby around you once they're mobile is just to do it in a room with a closed door that's very, very safe. Okay, so we're going to start with some cat pose. Tucking the chin, dropping the tail, rounding the back. And then you let that release. Lift your tail, lift your head, lift the breastbone. So we're trying to mobilize the spine. And just start quite softly and see if maybe after a few movements things start to get a bit more fluid. And see if the movement could start to connect in some way with your breathing. And I think today we'll see if we can make a nice long shhhing noise. So see if you can do that shhhing noise with the cat pose. So by the end of the exhale, your belly's drawn in and back towards your spine, and you feel nice and strong there. You inhale. This is the sway backed cow. Wag your tail, lift your head and chest. Exhale, rounding your back, drawing your belly back towards your spine. Inhale, stretch the front. Exhale. And then relax that movement. Give your hips a little sway from side to side. So some really simple things for loosening out your hips. Okay, really basic. Circles like this from all fours. And it's nice because you can chat to your baby while you do that. If it's a bit much on your wrists now, you come on your knuckles. And I went for a very long walk yesterday. I actually broke free from my family, from my household. I went for a bit of a longer walk. And I have to say I felt quite stiff afterwards, probably because I haven't been on a long walk for a while, for a couple of weeks. People who are feeling a bit stiff. Sometimes just walking is great, it's really good for us, or jogging, really good, but it can leave you feeling a bit stiff. So just simple stuff to unwind a little bit. Circling the opposite way now. Chatting to your baby as you go. And then I would like you to try this foot stretching exercise. So from all fours, you tuck your toes and you press your hips back towards your heels. And you can kind of warm up to this. So you can rock forward again, lift your feet up, curl your toes in, stretch them out, tuck them under, sink the hips back. And we're trying to stretch out the toes and stretch the arches of the feet. And I've got my knees quite wide apart to make that really comfy. And I'd either like you to carry on like this, lifting up and down, or if it feels okay, actually let your hips come down and stretch your arms forward. So I've still got some weight in my hands here, but it becomes a little bit more passive. So you can, if your baby has crawled off, you can rest your forehead on the floor. If your baby's still there, I'd suggest you keep your head off them, the weight of your head off them, and smile at them. Tap to them, stretching the feet, and can you feel it opens your hips a little bit as well, maybe releasing the lower back. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it, or keep it moving up and down. Okay, if you're happy like that, sunk back, almost like a little froggy position, you're going to stay for a deep breath. And then bring your hips up, lift up your toes, give them a little wiggle. So make sure that your knees now are a little wider than your hips, and have your feet as wide as your knees. Oops, ringing the bell. So look down between your knees, and if you can see your feet, take them a little wider apart. Curl your toes under again, and this time you're going to walk your hands in and lift your knees up. And see if you can come towards some sort of squat, and then you can roll back forward again. So let me show you. Could be something like that, and back down. Or if you've got lots of flexibility, you might be coming something like this, little rolling squat, forward and back. So we are working here, our feet, our ankles, our knees, our hips, and we want to try and keep it rolling, not getting stuck. And ideally, the knees both lift off the floor at exactly the same time, and both drop back down on the floor at exactly the same time. And then we're developing some strength across the abdomen, and developing a good movement habit or pattern of lifting and lowering. I'm trying to demonstrate some different levels of flexibility here. So it might, if you don't have a lot of hip and knee bend, it might be something like what I'm showing now. Either way, you can put a little bit more effort in and use that movement to get you all the way up into a standing position. I'm going to leave the babies down on the floor for the time being. So once you're standing, let your feet rock from side to side. And then we're going to come back down onto the floor. So if you bend your knees, again, I've still got my feet quite wide apart here, so I'm nice and stable. Soft knees and straighten. Soft knees and straighten. Soft knees, put your hands just above your knees. Let's pause here, and what I'm going to ask you to do something very strange that yoga teachers don't normally ask you to do, which is let your shoulders come right up towards your ears, but press onto your arms, and it's like you can actually, it feels quite nice to get that squeeze for the tops of your shoulders and the trapezius muscles. Squeezing the tops of the shoulders, and then let them relax a little bit, and we're going to carry on back down. One hand goes down, then the other. See if you can get both knees to touch at the same time. Back on all fours. Give the babies a kiss. Walk your hands in towards your knees and roll up. Roll your shoulders and put one foot forward. So this little sequence we're going to do now is really, really good for achy hips and achy knees. So the foot that you've put forward, take it nice and wide so there's room for your baby. And so when you bend your knee here, it feels quite comfortable, and the bend in your hip quite comfortable. Stretch your arms up. You can give your hands a little clap to get your baby's attention, and then bring your arms down to the floor. And we're going to lunge, lunging forward and rocking back. It's very nice to inhale as you rock forward, and then like we did with cat pose, we'll use the shh to rock back. Inhale forward, to come back. Okay, one more time like that. Bring your hands towards your grounded knee and roll back up. And give your shoulders a nice roll. Place the arm corresponding to the forward knee just above the knee, like so. So I've got my left leg and my left arm. With the other arm, I'm making a big circle. And I'm going to tickle my baby as I come down to the bottom. Big circle. And the pelvis can move a little bit while you do that as well. Gentle movement. So you can sing to your baby or hum to your baby, smile at your baby, click your fingers to your baby, or just do your movement. Bring your hands back down to the mat. And now lift your opposite arm up. And then you slide it down and under. So we're going to inhale and reach up. Exhale, little twist. One more time. And then walk your hands towards the grounded knee and roll up. So now we're going to engage the babies a little bit more. So I'm going to pick my darling, delightful, quiet baby up off the floor. You might have to ask your baby to crawl over towards you. I'm going to pop my baby now sitting on that front leg. And now I'm trying to support my baby and not be wobbly and not fall over. I need to bring this forward foot in a little bit narrower. So ideally, the forward foot, ankle, knee and hip are all on a straight line. And then it's like you're on two parallel lines, two train tracks. So the front leg is on the one side and then the back leg is on the other side. Two parallel lines. So you can sit your baby up like that. As they get a bit older and fancier, they can stand up on you. And the yoga, the exercise is, can you stay very still, even while your baby's sort of moving around and wiggling and trying to get away or trying to see what's happening, and you're just keeping your lower body very, very still. It can be helpful to imagine you've got an extra ligament, like a bungee cord, from the inner part of your knee to the front of your hip. And you keep this lower body very, very still and steady and stable. So then there can be a little bit more freedom in your upper body. A little bit of rolling the shoulders. If you can get one arm free safely, take one arm up. And leave it up, reaching up with that one arm. Deep breath in and out. And then if you can swap the arms safely, if you need both hands to hold your baby, just work with the lower body. If you can swap the arms, you swap the arm. So we're looking for stability in the lower body and then a little bit more softness and ease in the upper body. If you are not holding your baby, then you could do this both arms together. And if you are holding your baby and you're feeling like Superwoman and you're feeling nice and strong, and only if that, you can lift your baby up in both arms together. Otherwise, same again, just take one arm up and then the other arm up, or without the baby, both arms up, or with the baby, both arms up. You can lift your baby up above your head, or you can sit them on your head like we do in jumping beans. And then you can sit them back down again. Ooh. And then we're going to do a little upper body rotation. So like we did with the kind of Mr. Sun variation. So the hips stay facing forward. And your baby can be sat on your knee, or you can put them back down on the floor. Or you can leave them up on your head or sit in the back up on your head. And we're going to have a little turn to one side and a breath. Don't overdo it. So hips still face forward, chest turns very slightly back to the middle. I'm going to pop my baby back down on my knee. And then a little gentle turn to the other side. And a breath. The breathing's quite important because the breathing is making stuff happen on the inside of your body. Okay, I think we're probably trying to get out of this. So I'm going to suggest you pop your babies back down on the floor. Take that foot out wide again, have a little circle around. So after all that stability or that gripping, it might feel quite nice now to have a little bit of a wiggle. And then to come back to hands and knees. And again, have your knees a little bit wider than your hips and your feet as wide as your knees. Tuck your toes and just try again this little bit of rolling up and rolling down. Can you get both knees to lift and both knees to lower at the same time? Rolling up. You can squat if that's accessible to you. Or rolling up like this. Keep your hands on the floor if necessary. So both knees lifting at the same time, and then eventually push hard enough that you can come all the way up. You can't see me, but push, punch the air because you're up. Roll your shoulders. Give your legs a little bit of a shake out. Wave to your baby. Ah. Okay. So we're going to do the similar little sequence on the other side. So I'm going to suggest before we go back down to the floor, we do some nice standing scoops. So bend your knees, relax your shoulders, and then straighten up and lift your tail. So soften your knees, relax your shoulders, straighten up and lift your tail. So quite soft, almost a bit ragdolly. Just get moving through your joints. I think the trick with knees, a lot of people have knee pain in the first year after having a baby. I think a lot of it is balance. We spend a lot of time holding the babies on one side, and then there's more weight going down through one knee. And over time, day on day, week on week, it creates imbalance in the body. So while you're standing and you're free of your baby, and you're not holding them necessarily, you know, to see if you can really keep your body weight balanced over both feet, bending both knees together, bending both hips together, rolling both shoulders together. And if you have got your baby in your arms, just try and get them right in the center of your chest, right in your center of gravity. So, as you move, there's even weight through both sides of the body. Okay. If your baby was in your arms here and you need to do this sequence next, you would bend down and pop them down. And then you can get yourself down. So same thing, hands just above your knees, shoulders up towards your ears. Really try to squeeze your shoulders up towards your ears and release the muscles either side of your neck. And then let that go, roll the shoulders. We're going to come back to the floor. Mwah, kiss your baby. And just some simple hip circles, one way and the other way. And then walk your hands towards your knees so you can roll up. Place your other foot forward, nice and wide to begin with. Okay, so check, knee feels comfortable, hip feels comfortable. Inhale, reach up. Get your baby's attention. Exhale to the floor, and we're going to lunge. Inhale forward. To rock back. Inhale forward. To rock back. Walk your hands towards the ground, your knee, and roll up. Okay, so forearm just above the knee with the other arm, big sunshiny circles. Tickle your baby as you come round. Inhale up. Exhale down. So you might recognize these movements as the movements I teach in prenatal yoga class as well. I'm trying to really teach this sequence as something that people can get really familiar with. So you can do it, the whole thing, or just aspects of it, kind of whenever you feel like you need it and whenever your baby's just in the right mood for it. We come back to the floor, and then it's the other arm we lift up. And give it a little wiggle and underneath, like a kind of threading of the needle. Inhale up, wiggle fingers, and under. Let's just do one more like that. Or did I already say one more like that? And then we're going to walk the hands in and roll up. And we're going to bring the babies and sit them up on our front thighs. So I find this exercise, this stability exercise, is actually a really quite a good one to do with older babies that are crawling around, and they'll be like, oh, that's quite exciting to sit up on mummy's knee. So a younger baby, you might rather just leave them on the floor if they're happy on the floor. But this one, especially for those of you with the older babies that are crawling around a bit, something that might engage them. Bring them in. Ideally, going to bring your foot a little closer in, so you're on your parallel lines. That's what you've got to watch for. You're really face planting and falling off. And really, the beginning of this practice is just what I'm doing now. Is actually, can I just be in this position and stay still? It's quite a wobbly one, but finding the muscles I need to be able to hold that still, whilst also holding onto my wriggly baby. Is good stability exercise. Remember your extra ligament inside of the knee to the front of the hip, and see if you can just keep that really nice and still and steady. So from the belly button down, still supported. And that said, you'll probably wobble around a bit, so you can let that happen, but know that it's that wobbling that's helping you find the strength. So as mums, we need a lot of strength, physical strength, emotional strength, strength of all sorts, but we also need a lot of space and a lot of flexibility, an open mind, and ability to adapt. So think of this practice a bit like that. It's like, okay, we're going to be really rooted, going to have the lower body really strong, really rooted and connected and earthed, but can we relax our shoulders? Can we keep a smile on our face? Can we keep this sort of upper body a little bit more spacious? If you can get one hand free safely, you reach your arm up, and it's like a kind of floating. You can circle your wrist. It isn't, really stiff. It's soft and floaty. Reach the arm. Like there might just be something very lovely up there that you could reach for. And then if it's practical to get the other arm free, you can get the other arm free. If it's not practical to get either arm free, you're just holding your baby and trying to relax your shoulders and keep your breastbone upright and keep the smile on your face and keep breathing. If it's practical for you to have both arms free because your baby's lying on the floor or they've crawled off somewhere, you can take both arms up. Or if you're feeling like Supermum, again, you can take both arms up with your baby in your arms, so lifting your baby up above your head or sitting them up on your head. And again, keep the lower body very still. And even though you're reaching and lifting and holding the baby's weight, can you keep the chest nice and open, breastbone lifted, smile on your face and soft breath. If you want to make it harder, you can lift and lower your baby. And if you want to make this really fun for your baby, maybe if you're doing it later, this is another thing you could do in front of a mirror so they can see themselves going up and down. And so then we're going to do the twisting version. So again, this can be done with your baby on your knee or with your baby on your head or without your baby involved at all. I'm actually going to pop the baby down so I can show you what I mean. What you might do is take your arms up and rest the palms of your hands on the top of your head. And then you're just going to have a little turn to one side. So hips stay facing forward, you're just turning your chest. And a deep breath in and out. So you can also do this with baby sitting on your head or baby sitting on your front thigh. Back to the center. And then a little turn to the other side, and you hold that twist as you breathe in and out, keeping the pelvis facing forwards. Little twist back to the center. And you can bring your baby down to the floor. You can relax your arms, roll your shoulders, sitting with your baby. And we're going to pop the babies back down on the floor. Oh no, we took it wider, didn't we? So take your foot a bit wider and have a little circle. I like to try and be even on both sides. That said, we're not very even on both sides postpartum, so don't worry too much if you get interrupted halfway through the practice and end up not doing everything even on both sides. It's really best to feel into your own body anyway. Sometimes you might find one side needs something more than the other. Coming back onto all fours. Give your hips a little wiggle from side to side. Have your knees and feet both slightly wider than hip width apart. And we're going to have a go again at first. This practice we did before. Do you remember you sunk your hips onto your heels, reach your arms forward, and chat to your baby, or if they've crawled off, you can tuck your chin and press your forehead to the floor. And what we're trying to feel here is a little stretch for the feet and also the sensation of the tail sticking up and back behind you. So your tail is very much lifted. The pelvic floor here is nice and wide and open, the diamond of the pelvic floor. We're flying our diamond kites, pelvic floor kites. And just being in that position and breathing deeply is going to exercise your pelvic floor. If this position's awkward, try something like this instead. So untuck the toes, have your hips directly over your knees, down on your forearms, but you can still get that feeling of your tail lifting. You can still chat to your baby, give them kisses, or you can let your head hang between your arms. So pelvic diamond, nice and open. With toes tucked, so arches of the feet nice and open as well, if you can. And then we're going to have a little go at what I call the puppy dog position. So from all fours, give your toes a little wiggle if they need it. Hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips or slightly wider, feet in line with your knees, tuck the toes, lift your tail, and then lift your tail right up into the air so your head goes down between your arms. Don't worry about straightening your legs just now. Just see if you can get that tail nice and high. Give it a little wiggle. Exhale, feel your lower belly drawing in and back towards your spine. And then when you're done, see if you can get both knees back to the mat at the same time. And do something a little bit more restful. Circle the hips around or curl right down. Now with head resting on hands into the child's pose or adoring your child's pose. So if your baby is doing their own thing, your forehead can come right down onto the mat. If your baby is there to be adored, then you adore them. Put your head on your hands, and you could give them a little bit of sonic massage. So sonic massage is just humming, making sounds, singing on your baby's body. And a little baby, you can do this on their tummy. And an older baby, you can do it on their tummy, but you'll soon find out if they don't want you to. It works also very nicely on a seated baby. On the top of their head. or on their upper back, and humming. Humming calms us down, calms us down, the grown-ups. It can calm the babies down, but it also, more importantly, when you're exhaling and when you're humming, the diaphragm lifts, all the breath goes out, the lower belly draws in and back. You get a really complete exhalation. And then the inhale that follows is lovely and very revitalizing and very refreshing. So I like to say, focus on the exhale, and the inhale will arrive by itself.